So, legends. I ended up getting in touch with the manufacturer of this, or at least one of the designers, and he shed a bit of light on this weirdness in this model, like we talked about in the first video, where there was some discrepancies between the two boards where they met, like the headers were in the different positions and stuff. So essentially this was like a hybrid amp based on the 15 watt circuit boards, but they sort of prototyped this one to make a 30 watt version for the 2003 NAMM show. I was 1 year out of high school at that time. So this was basically a concept model on what was to come when they were to put the 35 watt into production. And this was just to get it over the line for the show. And then they continued to develop the board specific to this model. So that explains a lot of the weirdness that we saw inside with the point-to-point components and stuff like that.
It's worth pointing out that the heater traces on this are far from ideal. You've got the two heater wires coming there. I've just disconnected them for the moment. You can see there GRN on the PCB there. One of them goes off the top there. The other one goes at the bottom. They run parallel, which is fine for the power section, but it happens to run that way all the way across to the first valve. So you've got one side down there running next to all those grid wires, or headers. And you've got another side at the top there. So not your usual twisted pair, or at least overlaid traces. One on the top, one on the bottom would have been much better. You've got a double-sided board, so there's no real excuse for not doing that. And of course its noise floor, its hum, isn't fantastic as a result. So it does have heater balancing with those two resistors conveniently located on the other side of the board. So if they ever do go short, and it does have a cathode follower, I think. You have to sort of remove them through that little half-inch gap there. I'm wondering if all of these capacitors were originally these Zcons. Some of them have failed and they've put in Nichicons as replacements. I don't know, because we've got all different brands. We've got the bypass caps there for the EL34s there, and you've got 3 Zicons, you got 4 Nichicons, and you got 2 different value Elners. So I don't know, maybe some nodes have failed in the past and these are what techs have replaced. You know how you get those techs that don't do the full job, they just replace one cap at a time, so they get a bench fee every time you bring it in, and they claim that they're trying to save you money. Yeah, right. Pull the other one, mate. And just to be clear on all of this, I don't know what's stock from the factory and what's been bastardized by some other tech. So let's give this company, now defunct anyway, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt on this one and assume it's been hacked up. Although the PCB layout stuff obviously is far from ideal, so who knows? We don't know enough about these things. Working on amps is always a bit of detective work. And here we've got a bit of a smoking gun as to the partial recap situation. So this capacitor was present on the circuit board when the cap next to it failed and blasted out its little furry bits and pieces inside. And you can see the remainder here is caught around that lead. This capacitor hasn't been replaced after the other capacitor failed, so this is definitely out of partial recap. So that cap used to be here. You can see its footprint there. There's some shmoo under there as well. So when we look at that, that is aimed right at that cap. So that was the bypass cap. So you probably had a shorted valve in the past. That cap's blown its guts out because it's been given probably full plate voltage, and left its pubes on there. They've replaced that one, but not any others. So that's sort of justifiable. If you've had a shorted valve, you'll obviously blow up your bypass capacitor on the output stage there. In that case, it's not always necessary to replace the others because the cap's failed as an overvoltage of a result of another fault. So that's understandable. I still suspect that this is a partial recap though, so we'll see if there's any more evidence of that. Nope, champions, looks like I was wrong yet again. It does happen quite often. You can see there's like a flat spot on the top of all those leads there, where they've actually been like linished off, like sanded off. That only happens at the factory. They solder all the parts in and then they just smash it on the linisher and it takes off all the excess leads. You can see it's pushed that lead over, probably semi-melted it a little bit, and there's some remnants there, but with a flat spot on top from the sanding. Probably not great for whoever's breathing in all that lead dust, but anyway, these might be lead free. I don't think it is. But those Nichicon caps that we suspected were replaced, they've got the same flat spot from the linisher. And you can see there's a little like coppery brown circle in the middle, which is the actual copper leads. Nichicon uses copper, not the steel crap. So yeah, all those caps are original. Detective work. The bypass caps, we're going to change them anyway because it's 85 degrees and it's right next to the output stage, so I'd like to see some 105s there at least. I don't know what happened with this rear panel here. That's the panel laser cut thing down there. Come on, Panny boy, focus. Oh my god. It's normally mounted across there covering the valves. You've got to remove it with those screws to access the valves to replace them. It looks like someone's tried to remove it with a bloody screwdriver or something. The screws are right there, man. Like, I don't know. Who knows the backstory with things like this. These two solder joints are the one end of the common end of the screen grid resistors as well, which go straight to the sockets. And you can see there's evidence of the linishing there as well, so that answers our question as to whether that was a revision or from the factory. However, on the cathode resistor that's mounted to the board anyway, the 250 ohm 10 watt, you can clearly see the pinch marks there from side cutters, so that was replaced at some point. You can see the damage here from the previous tech who removed the cathode resistor from the top of the board. The soldering iron's been too hot. They've also probably had bent over leads and they've just ripped that through the hole, and they've overheated it. You can see that the degradation of the fiberglass there to the bottom left of the hole from it basically delaminating the fiberglass from too much heat and pressure. And same goes with the other one. This is why that pad's almost gone too. This is why I remove boards to work on the bottom of them, because you don't know what's on the bottom. The lead could be folded over at 90 degrees and could be 3 mil long. And if you try and pull that through the hole, you're just going to rip that tube out. It doesn't matter if through plated or not, you're going to destroy the pad. So always check the bottom of the board. Don't be lazy or you'll destroy people's amps. Simple as that. Right, so all those caps are removed. We're ready to put the new ones in. I am going to up that first node to, first two nodes probably to 47 microfarad. Actually, the screen node was showing bugger all ripple, so let's leave that at 33. We'll go 47, 33. I don't know why they got 33 there when it's 22 before it. Probably go 22. We'll just follow 22, 33, 22 there, whatever. But yeah, we'll go 47 for the first node at least to bring that ripple down a little bit, but I think having a new fresh cap in there will probably do half the job as well. And for that job, we're putting in Nichicons, but this time we'll go 105 degree rated. Alright, there's the new caps installed. We've got some silicone securing them to each other just so they don't vibrate around. I've installed a chassis mounted resistor down there. We've got rid of the resistor hanging off the back of the valve socket. We've removed this bypass cap, so now we're relying on this one here as the main one across the pair. We're running as a pair now, and the 180 ohms we've landed at for the shared cathode resistor. It says 120 on the board, and there were two 250s before. That was running at about 130% dissipation. Now we're sitting at about 97 plus minus 1% between the two, and it's sounding pretty good. One thing Dad just pointed out, here he is. He's just
going, guys?
he's just walked in and he said, "Hang on, that speaker's fucked." So we've had a look, and the silly little speaker in the head cab, the surround's completely destroyed. So that speaker's fucked. Okay, the customer was saying he likes the sound of this speaker, so I'm not sure if that was before the surround died. I'll let him know about that. We might be able to find a decent replacement, although it is a pretty tiny speaker. Probably going to struggle to get a guitar speaker in that format, but I'll have a look around and let him know of some options. So here's a look at the speaker with the degraded foam surround. It's all just crumbling, turning to dust. And it's not centered on the pole piece as a result. It's rattly as hell. So it's still moving, but it's not centered anymore. So the suspension's not doing its job. So in the bin it goes. Now looking at the back, it's just a generic Taiwanese 8 ohm sort of mid-woofer. So you know, there's probably a lot of speakers that will fit the bill, but probably with rubber surrounds, not foam. You tend not to find foam surrounds in Australia anymore because they degrade so quickly with our crazy weather. So everything over here is like a rubber. And looking at the inside of the cab here with the foil tape up the power supply, and you can see where there's some shit stains left from the exploded caps there as well. So yeah. Now I'm just trying to reconnect this cable to the lighting on the front panel. Camera's not enjoying life. It only reaches once the amp's pretty much in the cabinet. You can't see what you're doing. So like another, I don't know, 4 inches on the cable would have been nice, but maybe that's been shortened. I don't think so. That looks like factory crimped. Anyway, just another thing to whinge about. Now I know I love flogging the proverbial dead horse, but yeah, once again someone used a number 2 Phillips on a number 3 screw, so that's what you get when people do that. It gets reamed out. So just get yourself a number 3, mate. Reattach the sign. Isn't that cute? Luckily there's no switching noise being induced into the circuit, so that's something. Alright champions, so the customer supplied a replacement driver for this one because I couldn't find one that was 30 watts in this form factor. It's a kind of a weird size. He ended up finding one from one of my suppliers as new old stock, but not from the supplier themselves, but from an eBay listing of, it was like, I don't know if someone bought it and sold it as new old stock or what, but it's no longer a catalogue item, but he ended up finding one online, so happy days. And that's it installed in there. We've put the little cap across it back in because the customer likes the sound of the built-in speaker, so we're going to simulate well, we're going to use the same configuration that he brought it in with and see how it sounds with the new driver. They look almost identical visually. Wouldn't be surprised if they're the same manufacturer and there's just an OEM supplier that the amp used. So let's plug it in and have a listen.
So, a bit of a weird amp, but not weird in terms of, you know, the architecture or anything, just one we don't see every day over here. I think they're quite a bit more common overseas, and in Australia there's a lot of amps that we barely ever see over here, but they're quite common overseas, so this is one of them. So it's good to have it on record, have a bit of a photo record of that, and plus the videos, just for future's sake, for anyone that comes across them in the future, or indeed this very model, this very unit itself, if any techs in the future see it. Now there's a bit of a backstory on it, so they won't have to do the digging like I have. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. The sound samples were pretty rushed because he's picking it up in about 10 minutes, so I'll catch you on the next one, legends. Take it easy.